Welcome to the Memoir Network's Better Memoir Writing Masterclasses. Well, family and friends are a worthy readership for your memoir. Many writers I have coached aspire to write for a larger audience than family and friends. Writers will admit, if they are pushed, that they would enjoy a larger public response to their efforts. It is exciting for most writers to discover that their story can appeal to strangers and may even move these strangers to some action. In today's masterclass, I offer 4 tips about how to write for a larger audience than family and friends. For those of you who do not know me, I am Denis Ledoux. I'm a writer, a teacher, and the founder of the Memoir Network. I'm so pleased you have joined me today for this masterclass. This class is brought to you by the Memoir Network's editing services. A memoir editor provides impartial professional feedback about your memoir's potential, be it your treatment of subject matter, your style, character development, pacing, the arc of your story, and so much more. Schedule a complimentary Get Acquainted session by going to the address listed in the description of this video. Oh, and I'll also have a bonus for you at the end of this video. Now let's begin the masterclass. Here are 4 tips to help your story to appeal to a broader public. Tip number 1. Write a story that is truly well written and whose reading, the prose itself, will bring pleasure to your reader. To do this, you will need to make effective use of a number of fiction writing techniques. These techniques include imagery, metaphors, similes, suspense, foreshadowing, dialogue, and so forth. You will have to place these into your text. You will also strive for clarity, coherence, conciseness, completeness, and again, so much more. If you enjoy playing with language and have an ear for it, you can succeed at creating a well-written memoir that will bring pleasure to your readers. And don't worry, learning how to write better is a skill that you can learn. Almost anyone can learn how to write better. Using fiction techniques, however, is not to say that you ought to fictionalize your memoir. At the Memoir Network, we are very much against making things up in your memoir, against fictionalizing your story. Please don't do that. Let me offer you a process to write for a larger audience. Try printing your story out. For most writers, a printout changes their experience of the text. A printed story is somehow providing you with more of a sense of the public. Go ahead and give printing your memoir a try. Having printed your story, read your story out loud to yourself and preferably to someone else. Note how your story sounds. Experience the flow of your language. Reading aloud will make you more objective about your writing. Keep a pencil or a pen handy and make notes of proposed alterations to the wording and the style. Keep your ego out of the way and let yourself experience hearing your story as a sympathetic listener. Would you be able to tell the writer, who is you, of course, how you have appreciated the memoir excerpt? Or would you have to make nice when asked what you think of the story you have just read? If you would have to make nice, that is your cue that you need to do some rewriting. Tip 2. Find what is truly unique about your story and explore that. These unique qualities will appeal to a public audience. Perhaps you were experimented on with drugs, or perhaps you were a prisoner of war, or perhaps you have given birth to sextuplets. People love to read about a personal experience that is different and unique, and it is highly probable that you have done something in your life that is unique, even if it is only during a small portion of your life. Perhaps there was a time when you tried to reconcile a liberal political view with a conservative religious group, or perhaps you were afflicted with a malady that vanished when you took a special cure. It may take you time to identify what you have experienced that was unique, but be patient with yourself. Linger with your story a while, and your uniqueness will come to you. Remember that the uniqueness does not have to appeal to the masses. A niche appeal will do nicely. Tip number 3. Set your story in a historical context if you want to write for a larger audience. Perhaps you were the first person to do something in your group or in your community, the first man to graduate from an hitherto all-women's college. You might write about the history of change from single-sex schools to mixed-gender schools. Perhaps you were in the Vietnam War and you wish to write a memoir from the point of view of an ordinary soldier, or perhaps you were a pacifist who opposed the war. Again, you will need to include a broader view of what you were involved in. Perhaps you were among the first women to become a financial advisor in your state, and you want to write about the dissolution of gender barriers in banking. Perhaps you were a housemaid to a significant political family and have stories to tell about national figures who frequented the house where you worked. Perhaps you have a story to tell about what it was like to be a newly arrived Muslim living in North America. To succeed at writing your story in a larger historical context, you will obviously have to learn about that historical context and be able to write about it with ease. The bigger picture gives context to your individual experience. Begin by reading about the historical context, and from that you may come to know your story more deeply, to know where it was situated. To help you write for a larger audience, I'm going to suggest that you make a memory list of all the differentiating elements of your life or the particular experience you are writing about, and explore the relationship with the more common experience of other people. How to make a memory list is elaborated in another video on this masterclass channel. Tip number 4. Find the psychological, the spiritual, the cultural drama in your story. It often happens that writers who write about the psychological or spiritual unfolding of their own personality hit a chord that is universal, or the typical or normative unfolding and development of a personality. Your memoir then sets your life experience as a possible model. Again, I urge you not to fictionalize your experience for the sake of drama. And here's a word to the wise. It is in the rewriting stage, as you struggle with the story that is trying both to remain hidden and to come out, that you will most likely achieve the insights that will appeal to a broader readership. So keep writing and rewriting. It is possible for you to produce a story that is not only worth your time to write, but also worth someone else's time to read. These 4 memoir tips that I have presented: 1. Write a story that is truly well written and whose reading, the prose itself, will bring joy and pleasure to your reader. Tip number 2. Find what is truly unique about your story and explore that thread. Unique appeals to a public audience. Tip number 3. Set your story in a historical context. Tip number 4. Find the psychological, spiritual, and cultural drama in your story. These 4 tips will make it possible to go about making an otherwise ordinary life into a story that can appeal to a larger audience. If you would like to explore receiving help with expanding your reach or any aspect of memoir writing, know that we at the Memoir Network offer a 30-minute complimentary Getting to Know You coaching consultation. Oh, and before you go, here's the bonus I promised you, a link to our video explaining how to make your memoir significant. Good luck writing your dialogue into your stories. And remember, inch by inch, it's a cinch. Yard by yard, it's hard. Thank you and good luck.